felt led to make a video touching on the two podcast guys again. I'm not going to make every video on these two, and I'm not going to let it get to that point. So that said, after this video, there might be a few, one or two train videos after this video, but my next talking video, I'm going to do my best to pull a subject directly out of the Bible, because need to get back on that a little bit. I feel like I get a little bit off track. Not quite, because these two podcast guys, they do pull Christianity into a lot of their stuff, which is just not correct at all. So one of them, again, I don't have their real names, but they go by Crow 777, and the other one goes by the internet nickname Big Bear. And those of you who recognize that name know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you agree with these people, I would encourage you to be careful, especially if you're a Christian. These guys aren't entirely wrong in the things that they say. I find Crow 777 more wrong, but Big Bear, he does have some right ideas, but they're not coming from the right place. And what they're both conspiracy nuts. They do encourage homesteading and all that stuff, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and nothing unbiblical about it either. In fact, it's encourageable, because who knows what twists and turns the economy is going to take, but it's nothing to be fearful about. But yeah, at least gardening's encourageable. We've been trying to do that. Our yard floods every time it rains, so it's kind of hard to do that. But we've been trying stuff. We're not giving up. Not giving up. So yeah, homesteading, absolutely nothing wrong with it. But some people are more capable of it than others. That's absolutely fine. We all come from different walks of life. I get it. But they deny Christ as the Savior. They deny the Trinity. Well, Big Bear does deny the Trinity anyway. And Crow, he's the one who denies the cross, which I've talked about that in the last video, I believe. It was either the last one or the one before that where I talked about that. They both say that politics doesn't matter. It does matter. It really does matter. It shouldn't be. People shouldn't be as focused and in tune to it as everyone else is, but it really does matter. There really is division in this country, and God has warned against that. No kingdom divided against itself can stand. Or, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Or a nation divided against itself cannot stand. And there is absolutely division. I agree with them when they do say that there is a bit of a mutual corruption, because the left it does infiltrate the right a little bit, but the right doesn't infiltrate the left. There are different sides, and which side you are on does matter. It's kind of like what Jesus was saying when don't be lukewarm. Yes, he was not talking about politics. He was talking about you're either a Christian or not. You're either his follower or you're not. But that's also why what political side you're on does matter, because one side is directly against God and the other side is more for God. There are more people on this side for God. So you're either on this side that at least most people are for God, or you're on the side where everybody's against God. Like, it's really hard these days to be both a Christian and a Democrat. And I'm not going to get into the whole Trump-Biden thing anymore. There's already enough people doing that. And although I will put my two cents in the issue real quick, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. Um, it is a fact that Biden cheated. Okay, that's a fact. I think anybody with a brain can agree on that. But the thing is Trump has already tried so much, and we really, even though Biden is the president now, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Life is going to go on, and people think that it's signs of the end times. Well, it might be, but the fact in and of itself that Biden is now our president is not the end of the world. It might be very, 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 very unideal, but it's not the end of the world. These people that are panicking and protesting, and the supposed Trump supporters that did that thing in Capitol Hill, I really don't know what that was about. I haven't watched a whole lot of news or anything politics related since working at Castor, which is probably for the best. Because I've noticed that when stuff does happen politically, I'm less scared by it because I don't see as much news to blow it out of proportion. And I am able to call it as what it is. So, in a way, I agree with the idea that politics shouldn't matter as much as it does to a lot of people, but it does matter. It does matter. And this is one reason why I really dislike conspiracy theorists, because I don't hate these people. I absolutely don't, because the Bible commands us to love people, right? It doesn't say anything about liking. Liking and loving are two very different things. So while I do love these people, I don't like them. And the reason I don't is because conspiracy theories, they create a whole lot of division, and a lot of the times unnecessarily, because they're either not true at all or they're true but blown way out of proportion. Maybe someday I'll make a video touching on some of those, but right now I don't want to get into it. But Christians absolutely do have a place in politics, because not only does our freedom to be Christians depend on what happens politically, but it also, as Christians, we also ought to look at the interest of our neighbors. And what I mean by that is seek their well-being, not really their preferences, because we know what a lot of their preferences are, and it does contradict us. But we aren't to seek their destruction, the destruction of these people. But yeah, while it shouldn't matter as much as it does to most people, to the point where people are outright panicking doesn't solve anything. Panicking only makes things worse, and that was demonstrated with this pandemic. People panicked, and stuff spiraled out of control fast. That's what happens when people panic. You can't let yourself panic. When the Bible says, "Do not be dismayed," or "Be strong and of good courage, God will never leave you nor forsake you," because the Bible knows that there are going to be times kind of like, because the Bible knows that hard times do come, especially in a society. And a lot of people like this, they do think that people ought to live under God's rule only, which is true. People really ought to only look to God for their leader. But unfortunately, we live in a fallen world, and that's not going to happen until Christ returns. Until then, we need some form of society and government, which is what Romans 13 is about, submitting to the government because it's appointed by God. It is. And that's when a lot of people are worried about, trying to do something to change the government in America. Well, if you don't try to do that, you're ironically not submitting to the government, because the Declaration of Independence, which goes right hand in hand with the Constitution, they're both considered documents on the law of the land that say the people have the right and duty to alter or abolish the government. Thankfully, it hasn't come to abolishment yet. Hopefully, it never does. But we have altered the way our laws are quite a few times, like the president now. He's really only a figurehead. It's really Congress that makes the laws and all these things. See, the executive branch only enforces the laws. A lot of people don't understand that. It's been that way for a really long time, but more so after Vietnam. A lot of conspiracies behind that. But we're not going to get into that because this is not a conspiracy channel. And I never meant for it to be. And I'm not going to let it be, at least not to a certain extent. Because when people drag Christianity into it, then I might talk about it. Because a lot of conspiracy theorists that like to quote the Bible will misquote it or interpret it in a way that maybe forwards their theory, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a very good thing. But in their case, it misleads a lot of people. I mean, or either that or the conspiracy just flat out doesn't matter. Like, they'll say the whole moon landing was fake thing, and it's a ploy to test how gullible the people are for control. I don't think so. I'm on the fence whether or not I agree that the moon landing was fake. There is compelling evidence, but it definitely wasn't a ploy or a test for some kind of control or anything. And if it was, it failed because, yes, a lot of people, if the moon landing was in fact fake, a lot of people did believe it, but it doesn't prove, and it does prove how gullible people would be if it is in fact true, but it doesn't prove how easy the people are to control, because what this pandemic has demonstrated, that when people feel like their lives are directly affected, they are willing to do something about it. The moon landing doesn't matter. It doesn't. I mean, it matters because if it is fake, then it's a big lie that a lot of people covered up. But in the sense of being a ploy for control, it really doesn't matter because a guy didn't walk on the moon. Big deal, right? Big deal. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter in the long term, because lies are a bad thing. They are a sin, but as far as whether or not the lie actually hurt somebody, it didn't. And the Earth is flat. This one is one that really annoys me because people do like to misquote the Bible, and when they say the four corners. But when the Bible talks about the four corners, it's talking about the four directions: north, east, south, and west. It's not suggesting that the earth is flat or square. Yeah, well, how come I can't see the curves? Yeah, well, this is easy to debunk with just simple logic. Take this, what used to be a snow globe, for example. If you were a bacteria living on top of this thing, would you see the curves? No, you wouldn't. This thing's too big and you're too small to see the curves. It would look flat to you. But also, the Earth, even though it's a sphere, it's not perfectly shaped. Because there's always going to be, because human eyes can see really far, but even human eyes have a limited range. There's always going to be mountains, hills, valleys, trees. There's always going to be something blocking your line of view. So no, this is easy to debunk. But my premise is that these things do matter, and people call those of us who stay on social media and all that, they call us cowards for not being willing to get kicked off of social media. And we are willing to. The thing is, we are willing to get kicked off of social media for the gospel, but we're not going to go out of our way to make that happen, because if we do that, then we're not going to reach other people who are on there. You see, the thing about social media is we're going where the lost are. Like these guys, they won't recreate any accounts or anything. They do this on these small secret platforms that nobody really knows about, except maybe the people who are already part of their audience. They're literally preaching to a choir. But that's why a lot of us Christians who still do social media, and people think that we're cowering by not going out of our way to say things that will get us kicked off. We do preach the gospel, but we make it subtle enough to where we can stay on, because we're going where the lost are. We're reaching the lost by doing this. Like when a new platform comes up, I guarantee you that if it gets a big enough following, plenty of Christians will go there too, because they know it's where they can reach the lost. It's fulfilling the Great Commission. There are different ways of doing that. It's not all about just going on the streets and preaching. In fact, in these coronavirus times, that actually might not work, because a lot of people will avoid you like the plague right now. So social media is the best bet for now, which is why a lot of Christians, even though they're bold about their faith, they're still being subtle, like just subtle enough to where somebody who would be looking to troll and get people kicked off won't notice it. Because you make it clear to those who are actually looking, but it's hidden to those who aren't going to receive it. It's very similar to how Jesus spoke in parables, and a lot of people say it's a sin to compare to Jesus. If you're comparing yourself to Jesus as if you're some kind of divine creature, then yes, that's a little blasphemous on the blasphemous side. But comparing your teachings to your witnessing strategies, it's not a sin. In fact, it's encourageable, because we are to be like Christ, as Christ-like as possible in our walk with God. Which is why we are to be involved with politics and all that stuff, but we're not to let the things themselves shape who we are. It's like, I agree with Crow and Big Bear on the things where people are letting their judgment be clouded, and they're letting too many things get to them. But I don't agree on a lot of the conspiracy theories, because they're either true, or they're either not true, or they're true but blown way out of proportion, which is why I don't like getting into conspiracy theories unless Christianity is brought into it and used to back it up, which can sometimes turn out to reveal something very truthful, and other times it is just another tool the devil uses to divide us. And the Bible warns against division, especially among the church. Especially among the church. This is the worst time ever, in a long time anyway, for the church to be divided. But yeah, we shouldn't let ourselves be fearful and discouraged, but we are still to be involved in these things, because they do matter. They really do matter. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I'm sorry if I went on too much of a rant, but hopefully, no, not just hopefully. Next time I do a video talking, I want to do it on a more actual biblical Bible topic. Even though the things I said were, things that I've read out of the Bible and what the Bible encourages. But next time I do a talking video, I want to do something more directly from the Bible. But anyways, guys, whatever that is, whenever that is, I'll see you in the next video. God bless you all.